So, Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Patrick.
So we did our first episode of Bad Trek, and it didn't suck entirely. So we've decided to do a second. At least I've decided. Are you on board with that?
I'm on board, and I think we really need to go from something that's kind of enjoyably bad to something that everybody affiliated with it recognizes it's a horrible, horrible mistake.
I think you're absolutely right, because a lot of those people who worked on Spock's brain, they're dead, and we don't really know. We don't really know. We can't really shame them as much as we can shame those responsible for this week's episode of Bad Trek, Threshold from Star Trek Voyager.
Oh God, here we go. So, again, at the top of the show, thank you to Captain Meatshield for providing our awesome intro music. Today we're going to be talking about the always wonderful Star Trek Voyager, and most importantly, what could be arguably the worst episode of Trek ever, by any estimation, Threshold.
In my opinion, it is the worst episode of Star Trek ever. I mean, I know you haven't really seen Enterprise, and there's some stinkers in Enterprise, some real bad episodes, but, they were trying something different with the series. So even though the series finale is a kick in the face of Enterprise, a kick in the face to anyone who ever liked the show, I still think that Threshold is a certain special sort of terrible that really watching it, I was shocked at how bad it was.
Yeah.
Because we talked about the badness of, Spock's brain. With Threshold, it's like nobody cared. We talked about this, like, bad episodes of television or shows that could be good happen when people stop caring or giving a damn.
Yeah.
And a show like this is the second season only. This is midway through the second season of a show that theoretically has infinite shows because it's run by Paramount. And this is an episode that already shows that no one cares about what's going on. It starts at the top, it goes all the way through the entire episode. I mean, the only good things you can say is that Robert Picardo is his usual professional self in it. The rest of it is garbage.
I will say this for Robert Picardo. There are times where he gives the script just as much respect as it deserves.
It's true, yeah. No, he is a excellent actor, both physically and, so you can tell through his gestures, his eyebrow raises, the way that he delivers lines, that he's kind of like, okay, I said it and I sold it, but fuck you.
Yeah. My personal favorite was, wake up, Lieutenant.
Hey, I know, yeah. Can you wake him up? Is this supposed to be funny, or am I doing a joke? Yeah, it's a joke. Wake him up.
I almost hope that was ad-libbed, that actually wasn't in the script, and he was just like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this. This is too dumb.
Yeah, we're not going to give him a hypo spray to wake him up. We're just going to say, wake up.
Yeah.
Actually, so let's back up a bit.
Yeah, let's start at the actual start.
Let's start at the concept of Threshold. For those of you who haven't seen it, stop watching us or listening to us and watch it and subject yourself to the horror and come back and listen to what we're saying about it.
Appreciate the misery that we've been through.
So, Threshold is about Tom Paris, everybody's favorite rogue Starfleet / McKee / bad son.
You mean knockoff Riker?
Trying to break the Warp 10 threshold. Now, in Star Trek, Warp is never really... It's been inconsistent pretty much across every single series, which is one of the beauties of Star Trek, is the fact that even though there's people who are dedicated to keeping up memory alpha and making sure everything is, and I appreciate them because maybe they're pedantic, but they really give a lot of great information. But every series of Star Trek, going back to the original series, Warp meant 8 different things in the original series.
Yeah.
Until they tried to clean it up for Next Generation, and obviously once Voyager Deep Space Nine pops, whatever. And then once you get into Enterprise and what warp means now with the J Prize, warp is a whole lot different in the JJ universe than it does in the regular universe, considering how fast they got to Vulcan in Star Trek 2009.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the transwarp barrier in Star Trek Voyager. And that's the fastest you can go. And theoretically, if you can go that fast, you can get home in a minute. And of course, they're trapped, 90 some odd years at warp 10, warp 9 from the Alpha Quadrant. So they want to go as fast as they can. Tom Paris is working on a way to go as fast as they can with, I guess, Harry Kim for some reason, because I guess he's the tag-along in the engineer on Taurus. And this is about how he breaks the transwarp barrier, but also tampers in God's domain. And and the episode deals with the fallout of tampering in God's domain, in a way that is insulting to everyone and everything associated with it. Star Trek was always a big bastion of science, but you get the impression watching this episode that science might be bad.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe science should not do certain things. We should not tamper in God's domain.
I do want to make one quick point. That in this, when they go to the future in All Good Things, the last couple episodes of Next Generation, at one point, the Pasteur gets blown up. Riker rescues them, and as they're leaving, he turns around and goes, "Warp 13." So even in the new series, it's totally not consistent.
Well, I mean, okay, the only warp that ever was consistent across any of the Star Treks was warp 1 is the speed of light.
Yeah.
That's and I remember if you had the Star Trek Next Generation technical manual, it actually tries to differentiate what warp meant in the Next Generation universe versus what it meant in the original series universe. Speeds were different. But transwarp drive has actually a special place in Star Trek history. It's essentially a major plot point in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, as the Starship Excelsior, then the NX 2000.
It's 2000.
The NX 2000, an experimental vessel with transwarp drive, which is supposed to be really, really fast. That's all they really say. It's going to revolutionize space travel. They don't talk about it, in the way that it's talked about in Voyager. But they also don't imply any of what Voyager's implications for it mean either. So when they talk about transwarp in Voyager, I don't assume they're talking about the same type of transwarp drive they're talking about, even though in Star Trek 3. Because the only reason transwarp drive doesn't work in Star Trek 3 is because Scotty steals the computer parts to make it work, which is great. It's funny. It works really well in Star Trek 3, which has some problems as a movie, but in that moment, it's hilarious, especially when what happens to it.
Yeah, I mean, in Star Trek 3, they really demonstrated, they stayed true to the characters in a lot of ways because Scotty was the engineering genius who went into an advanced system and wrecked it in an almost undetectable way to most crew members.
That's right. I love in the beginning of that, and the fact one of the things that does well is Scotty hates the Excelsior from the beginning. He hates the entire concept of transwarp drive. There's when they're coming into space dock, and Sulu's they say she has transwarp drive, and Scotty says, "Aye, and if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon." So Scotty, clearly knows that, he knows what he's talking about. He's a genius. Anyway, B'Elanna Torres, obviously, if you're an engineer in the Star Trek universe, you've got to be some kind of massive, Einstein-level physical genius.
Yeah.
Physicist genius. And that's fine. Every single engineer is really, really smart. That's one thing that's true across the entire series. Engineers are always smart. All the series. Geordi, for all his troubles with the ladies, really, really smart guy. Scotty, miracle worker, knows how to, he's smart. Taurus, smart. She knows what she's doing. She kept the crappy key ships running around. They established this is a smart person. Engineers are always smart.
She was always struck me as like the MacGyver-y smart. Like she managed to cobble things together and make it work somehow.
Right. We make things go.
Yeah.
She's not a backlit. She's not a backlit. So let's start at the beginning, the opening, the teaser, if you will, as they call it now, for and so obviously the teaser, that like it opens up and this is my problems with the episode begin right in the teaser, and I'm talking a lot here, but there's so much to talk about this episode. So it starts out and he's and Tom Paris is in the shuttle and he's preparing to go to warp 10, which no one's ever done before, whatever. You can't go to warp 5 because that's whatever the anyway. And the problem is that the ship anyway, he's in the shuttle. You're supposed to think he's in the shuttle, and he's talking to Kim and he's talking to Taurus on the comm system, and he tries to go to warp 10 and it fails and it fades to white, and it turns out he's in the holodeck and he's not really doing it. It's just a simulation, which is fine. Yeah. But again, they try to say that this, like, the conceit of the cold open is that maybe he's doing it, maybe he's facing disaster, and none of the actors are delivering the lines like it's anything other than they're in a simulation. This struck me right off the bat, like. Well, I wouldn't say that. I'll say that Robert Duncan McNeil as Tom Paris is trying to seem kind of excited about it. The guy who plays Harry Kim and whoever plays Lana Torres, forgive me for forgetting their names, they are basically reading off a sheet into the microphone their ADR. Like, there is no emotion in their voices. He's basically about to die, and they're like, "Oh no, the ship is going too fast. You're breaking up." And Paris is trying to keep the conceit up. Yeah. And of course and then of course you see them and they're bored, like they've been sitting there for a while. But why try to establish that in the opening that something bad's happening? Clearly nothing is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no stakes, and your actors aren't even trying to give you stakes. Well, one of them is, but the other two aren't. And it's just shabby and crappy, and it's like basically someone handed in the script and said, "Say this," and that's kind of like the entire series, like the entire episode. But yeah, it just sets the standard for the episode.
They basically are just sitting there, and you're absolutely right. Robert Duncan McNeil, like in the commentary track for this on the DVD, makes the point that he was super psyched for this whole episode, ready to do this performance. And clearly, Torres and Kim are just like, this is our 18th simulation of the day. We've changed everything. Yeah. And then when it explodes, they're like, "God damn it, Tom. You did this." I mean, he's the goddamn pilot. They're the ones that are supposed to be, figuring out the solution to what's going on with the shuttlecraft.
Yeah.
If they should be irritated with anyone, they should probably be irritated with themselves, not the guy who got simulated death for blowing up a shuttlecraft. He can't really help.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing is that if you're going to have, obviously, the way they play it when they go into them is that they're tired, they've been doing it for a long time. Yeah. If you're going to try to do one or the other, don't try to do both. Make it oh, here we go, simulation number whatever. They could have opened it with them stating it was a simulation and talking about how frustrating it is that they've been doing this for 24 hours or however many times, and the shuttlecraft keeps blowing up. Yeah. Meanwhile, no, they try to have it both ways. They want to make it seem like, we've opened up in media res, and he's about to break the warp, the transwarp barrier, and also make it sound like maybe their intention was to tip their hand, but it just comes off as sloppy.
Yeah. And the thing is, I would be more forgiving of this episode if. So I was at Memory Alpha and I was going through all of their notes on this episode, and apparently this aired about a year and 7 months after the end of Next Generation. So after that whole note of Riker saying Warp 13, this is when they decided to go ahead and try and make Warp 10 infinite velocity,
Infinite velocity.
Which is...
Transwarp is now basically you are in all places at all times.
Right. Again, messing with God's domain, as you so eloquently put it. And the
Yes.
thing is, it's like, they're going through this process, they have a really dull resolution to the teaser, and then they swap into a feel-good workplace comedy sitting in, like, the concession area where Neelix is, like, walking around in the chef's hat with some coffee and, like, hey, everybody, how's it going? Like, you expect a laugh track to come up in the background and people to be like, woo, Neelix!
Yeah, Neelix. Oh, yeah. So speaking of Voyager, so as we get into the episode, I had not watched an episode of Voyager in a long time before I watched Threshold. And to catch myself back up on what the show was kind of about, and I mean, I know the broad strokes. Okay,
Yeah.
I watched the premiere again, and it had been a while since I've been. And the premiere starts everything. I mean, there's a lot wrong with Voyager from the start. Like, for one thing, it's a brand. Okay, the fact that the ship can catch a cold or whatever because it's got like bio.
Yeah.
It's got a special kind of warp drive or something, and it's supposed to be like a brand new ship, right? And they've decided to send this brand new ship out to find some guy who's undercover.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sending him into Maquis territory to find him. Like, I know we're not talking about the premiere, but the entire concept is ludicrous.
Yeah.
If you're going to maintain this guy's cover, if he survived, why would you send this massive fucking starship that's state of the art to go find him? And why don't you send like some shuttle type runabout type thing to go find him? I went back and I watched the premiere episode, and then we were talking about Neelix, right? And I'd kind of forgotten about Neelix until he shows up in the premiere as like the guy who's like they pick up, and of course he speaks English because they don't even talk about the universal translator in Voyager, or they do when it suits them, but they don't in the beginning, and they don't. And I forgot how annoying Neelix was. Like Voyager starts out in a bad place and gets worse.
Also in that intro is Tom Paris literally hitting on anything that moves.
Oh yeah, Tom Paris, ladies man.
Which again, I'm telling you, he is the like knockoff handbag Riker.
Poor man's Riker, yeah.
Because he's trying the same thing, including hitting on a Beta Z counselor for Voyager, who thankfully they killed off, so we didn't have to go through the whole like Riker Troy. Will they? Won't they? For 7 seasons.
I know, yeah. They won't because she's dead. Thankfully.
True. Along with the original Doctor. Along
with the Doctor and the first officer.
Yeah.
But no, okay. So we're getting to okay. Sorry, this is my bad because I got it into it, but because I had been away from Voyager for a while, and watching the premiere shows how the sloppiness was in place from the premiere on. Yeah. But I'd forgotten about the Kazon, for example, because the later seasons they're done with, they don't talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
And once they get rid of Kess, they don't really talk about the Ucamp anymore either. But in season 2, they're still around. In fact, the episode Threshold has a little bit of, I guess you'd call it season arc ground laying with the engineer guy who's in contact with the Kazon. Wasn't that guy a former? He was Maquis, right? Yeah.
He has the little like, field rank.
He's got the Maquis symbol on his But he's in engineering, and he also witnesses weird stuff going on with Tom Paris. So anyway, they talk about how it's such a big deal that he's going to break the warp 10 barrier, and again, considering for someone coming in as just a fan of Star Trek, but who doesn't think that warp 10's a big deal because they've done it before in other places.
Yeah.
And sort of like, well, okay, great. It's like, you'll be up there with Neil Armstrong. Like, all right. And I mean, I'll say this about the episode. The only guy who seems to give a damn about it is Robert Duncan McNeil.
Yeah, he does.
He acts his heart out, and he's not bad in the episode. This is my nice thing about the episode. Yeah. He does a pretty good job. He does a good job with what he's given. I mean, I think he's limited as an actor in general, but, they give him some real, emotional depth with his father. Always told him he was going to be special. I like this part. The episode actually starts out despite the bad opening with the lazy cold open. His need to be the one who does it feels very real. It's grounded in
It's relatable.
expectations of an overbearing parent, who's always told him he's going to be special and who's never really accomplished anything. This is something he can do. They set up this to be his thing very well. And they don't talk about the danger of it at all. All they talk about is that he might have a heart attack because he's got a weird, or whatever. He's got some weird
brain injury,
health issue. They don't hint at anything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
All you know is that there might be some physical danger because he's had some, because the doctor is, he's a hologram. So all he knows is his, at this point, whatever. All I'm saying is that they do a good job setting up the voyage, right?
Yeah.
And then once he actually does it, it's done in a good way. You've got, and he, he breaks the warp 10 barrier, and then it turns out that breaking warp 10, of course, is becoming, Q.
Yeah.
Apparently.
The thing that bothers me most about them figuring out how to do it is that, so they've been trying to do this for a couple of months, according to the episode.
Right.
And the thing is, I get that starships have classified information on them, but I cannot buy into the idea that these three guys, none of whom are the high-end engineers from Starfleet, somehow figure out how to produce enough power to get a shuttle to Warp 10 with a device that is basically the size of a large laptop or projector. And then, as they're sitting in a room, trying to put all this together, get a suggestion from the cook that doesn't... Which, on top of, the fact that it's coming from Neelix, who, by the way, that traitor dude, I checked it out also. Neelix kills that guy.
Oh.
And the way he does it is the guy's trying to sabotage engineering, and Neelix throws him into an open plasma vent and burns him alive.
Ooh.
So,
Neelix.
Neelix coming through with the kill. But,
don't sleep on Neelix, folks.
He will cook your ass.
That's right.
No, but he goes through this example of well, it turned out that actually the shuttle pod was being ripped away from the engines. And somehow they put it together that, wait a minute, maybe it's an alloy problem in the ship. Maybe we can fix it. And basically what they come up with is, in my mind, this is how I pictured it. They come up with some kind of ridiculous name for it, and I just think it's basically the equivalent of a device that negates static electricity in your laundry machine. And that's the breakthrough. That apparently was the limit. And Starfleet, regardless of when the Warp 10 experiment started, I'm in my head thinking, if they're going through transwarp, it started in Star Trek 3, and definitely by the time Voyager comes along, someone had been working on it for a couple of years. But these assholes figure it out. And
that's true.
And the other,
and there's no hinting that they've been working at it either. They just sort of get to it.
Yeah, and the thing that they allude to that really made this breakthrough possible was apparently heat-resistant dilithium that they found in an asteroid that they hadn't found before anywhere else in the galaxy. And I'm you're telling me that in a future where you have a ship that can catch cold,
right,
and has a super advanced warp drive, you couldn't get enough coolant to cool this thing down, but you were able to figure that out with a device the size of a laptop. We were talking earlier that in some Michael Crichton novels, there's small leaps in logic you just kind of accept for suspension of disbelief to make it work. I'm just fucking no. There are too many leaps here that you're asking me to make. And the fact that basically it's a component material, static electricity, and heat-resistant power source, that was it. That is how this happens in the span of 3 months with what I imagine are probably basically Starfleet average officers.
Yeah. Well, one's a washout pilot, one's on his first assignment, and the other one had been patching up key ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no one on the ship who should be smart enough to pull it off. But they do, and then we get, but again, so they pull it off, and the way that he describes it, again, it's funny, like, there's again, this is a lot of bad Trek episodes are like wasted potential, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that like they kind of treat it like there's no real fanfare, like yeah, like oh, it's like Janeway's kind of like pumped, people are like, okay, great, and but the way that Paris describes it, and again, he's the only one I think who's written consistently in the episode, is that he basically, I was there and I willed myself to go back to that moment. If you're going to talk about being everywhere in all times, all places, he kind of does a really cool job describing it.
Yeah.
Like, I could see inside the shuttlecraft. I could see inside the bridge. I could see, back in the Alpha Quadrant. And then I just ended up back here because I willed myself to do it. That doesn't explain how exactly going to Warp 10 would do that, considering no one's ever talked about it before. And Warp 13, as you mentioned, had been brought up is of course that's an alternate future. So maybe in that one you can write it off as saying they rewrote the warp rules again. So Warp 13 is possible, and also again, Warp 5 is no longer the speed limit for the galaxy because that was only lasted one episode. But whatever. I mean, they want to get home, and that's fine. They're trying whatever. But the way he described it was cool. And then things just go downhill. Like, everything is because, like, they don't, like, you would think that the concept of your mind being, like, let's forget the evolution stuff. Because in my mind, if you're going to be in all places at all times in an infinite way, would it physically impact you, or would it be like your brain would start to cut between different realities?
Yeah.
Which would be a better, or, which I think would be a more realistic way than what they end up going, in which case he suddenly starts evolving, at an insane rate.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest, which is why the episode is so terrible.
Yeah.
Because evolution is bad, is the message of this episode.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, like, we've talked about this briefly before, especially in the last episode, where Force of Nature from The Next Generation was an episode where they decided they were going to have an environmentalist message, and they were going to wedge it into an episode one way or another. And this was one of those ones where, like, they had this philosophical idea that maybe evolution isn't necessarily a positive thing, which, okay, as a concept, maybe there's an argument there. But the way it's executed in this episode is so boneheaded and clumsy that it just doesn't really make sense. And a lot of what happens in this episode requires such profound stupidity throughout everybody, but the Doctor, really, for this to, like, happen.
Yeah.
I mean, so Paris breaks the transwarp barrier, right?
Right.
And they're freaking out because they can't find him. And then the shuttle comes back, and he's asleep. Like,
he's asleep. Yeah, he's not unconscious. He's asleep.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I could understand that, like we were saying, if you are suddenly literally everywhere, including other galaxies at once, like, your body is probably just like, nope, fuck this, you are done. Like, shut it down. This is way too much information to process. It makes sense that, like, he would basically pass out and hit the floor.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets me is that, like, somehow the shuttle kept recording the data. And they make this whole big thing that, like, they get Paris back. He, like, has a brief seizure. And you know what? No, let's stick with this as it came up. So he gets back. Doctor says he's okay. He's asleep. Robert Picardo, clearly giving the script as much respect as it deserves, leans forward and is like, "Wake up, Lieutenant!" and yells in his ear, and, like, shocks him awake. And then, like, Picardo just, like, wanders off, like, "All right, fuck this scene. I'm done. I'm going to get a drink. It's time for it's scotchy time."
Yeah. 5 o'clock somewhere, everybody. Let's go.
And then, like, Paris is talking to Janeway, and they're like, "Cool, well, now we know that you can come back, but that's not very useful because we want to go to Earth."
Yeah.
And
but Yeah, so that happens, and yeah, they make a. You're right. This is the thing that bugged the hell out of me. They make this big deal about how they have to get the data recording from the shuttlecraft,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, of course they do. It's
Yeah.
like they make it so like, do they usually not record when they try to like break? Well, they just gonna leave it there?
Particularly
And they
with
say,
this.
wow, there's so much data here, but really, considering nothing is ever brought of it again, like who cares?
Yeah.
They make this big dramatic thing about Harry Kim going on the shuttlecraft and downloading the data into the Voyager computers, when really, it's like, wouldn't that be like shouldn't that be like
The first
SOP?
thing you do. Yeah. Particularly
If
when
you're
there's
on
like an unexplained phenomena happens to a crew member on a shuttle. Like you need to check literally go to the black box and find
Yeah,
out
it's like,
what
well,
happened.
thankfully he kept recording. Well, it's like, well, I hope it would, you know. It's not like he has to keep his finger on the button that says record data.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, there's so much information here. But obviously it's not a big deal that this ship can't handle it because they transfer. It's like, okay, we're transferring the data now. Like, oh my God, they can transfer the data. It's like, yes, it's like they transfer the data by pushing the usual button they would do. It's like, it's basically you and I are communicating the same way that the Voyager is downloading the data. It's that exciting.
Yeah.
And they're trying to create this dramatic tension for what should be SOP, and it's like, of course they're going to download data.
And
Jesus.
The thing that makes that like it took me a while to like rationalize this. I'm like, they're saying, for the next however much space in front of the ship, we suddenly have all this data of every centimeter. And I'm like, well, why didn't they get more? And then I think about it, I'm like, well, yeah, the ship literally basically just had its sensors go everywhere and probably just like filled up the sensor banks instantly. Like
That's
all
true.
the memory was jammed. So of course they didn't get like the universe.
Right. Well, why isn't the universe there? Yeah.
Yeah. Like it took me a while.
It can't fit on it. Yeah.
But even then, it's like they go through all of this, and nothing comes of the data.
Yeah.
And it's just you're just kind of sitting there, and you're like, oh, okay. And then it cuts to Paris and B'Elanna having coffee and going over data pads in the mess hall again. And Paris has a seizure.
Felix has got that bad copy.
I call it the Paris special.
Yeah, I forgot how annoying Neelix was. I said it before, but Jesus, he was bad.
And the actor who plays him, I don't have an issue with him. I have an issue with that character.
The character,
And
not
how
the
they
way he's
wrote
playing.
him.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that
No.
he had like the orange mohawk at all times.
He's dressed like Robin Williams in like something, or I can't remember. He's got like the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat on or whatever. His whole outfit is like, I'm Neelix and I'm different, but I speak English and no one, and
No one bothers
even
to
though
question this.
nobody ever questions this. And then poor Kess in this episode is given like two things to do, both of which are in sick bay, and both of which involve her looking at dials. She has
Nurse,
what's
what's her name? Nurse Ogawa from The Next Generation thinks her part was underwritten in this episode.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's got like two lines, and they're like, yes, no, what's happening? And then she kisses him because he's dead. But the real action is that all of a sudden, so Paris has his like bad reaction to the coffee. Aha! Because Neelix is terrible. And they're beaming people. They beam people to sick bay a lot. That's like the biggest job the transporter room has, is beaming people from one part of the ship into sick bay, because people are always dropping dead on Voyager. He's getting really ill. Now they get Paris in there, and he dies, right? Because his system's freaking out.
And like he can't process oxygen or anything. And like there's this whole thing, and it's supposed to be super dramatic. And like he gives the tell my dad that I wanted to mean something, and like he just stops short of being like tell my wife hello before he dies.
If only he had a wife, yeah.
Well, this episode starts the train of Tom Paris knocking up women on Voyager, because it's three.
That's right.
He knocks up 3 separate women in different timelines and activities on the show. So yes, so
Yeah, so he kind of dies, but he comes back to life because he's evolved a second heart. Was that it?
Yeah, it's a second heart, and the thing is, like, I don't know if that was actually a good evolution. Maybe that's the start of the bad evolution part here, because you have two now hearts. If one fails, I really doubt that the second one's going to be able to compensate.
But it's not even there. But the second one hasn't even grown yet when he dies.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, was the fact that was the evolutionary radiation keeping him alive? Was that that kept like propelling him forward in evolution? Like, I wasn't clear on that. And I mean, it's supposed to be this creepy moment of the doctor sitting in sickbay. And the thing is, I'm watching this part of the show, and I'm like, again, with the terrible suspension of disbelief, if the doctor's not needed, why would they need to continue projecting him to read data pads? If the computer has access to every single data pad, he could process it much faster by just being the fucking computer. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, they needed a doctor. They had a clever conceit.
Yeah.
And people like having him around. Maybe of course, if you don't need him, yeah, you're right. I mean, the processors are probably better used. Yeah, it's not like he needs to be in a corporeal form to file the paperwork he needs to file.
Yeah.
But then, I was concerned because the way that he leaves him after Paris dies is that he just kind of is like, all right, he doesn't call it. Maybe I've watched too much ER. It's like, call it. He's like, oh, too bad, Mr. Paris, and then they all kind of walk away from him. I mean, eventually we see. So at least they put a sheet over him. Is what I'm saying. Okay, just gonna leave him there. They don't. But they just leave him in like the surgery. They don't put him in
There's no more
Voyagers. They don't put him in the morgue. They don't do anything. His body's just sitting there. Yeah. I guess waiting for I don't know what. No one's there to warn him. They're just.
They couldn't just store him in the torpedo bay, like put him into one of the torpedoes and then just put it in like the vacuum of space, because that would preserve him fine.
If they pulled, sorry, it was good enough for Spock in Star Trek 2. It's good enough for Paris, and then the last shot is him. I'm alive. Salamander in a torpedo, hollowed-out torpedo. No, so what I don't understand. I mean, so obviously what happens is that yes, he begins to evolve. And the evolution is happening rapidly, and he gets really weird, and he begins getting really paranoid. And he's evolving, and they don't really say what he's evolving into. And actually, this is where the episode has, some concepts of body horror that are similar to The Fly.
Yeah.
Again, concepts that aren't terrible. And the fact that he's evolving in a really weird way. He's got hair popping out of him, and there's definitely, it doesn't seem like salamander. It seems like maybe he's going insect for a bit. And
particularly when he loses his tongue.
Yes, exactly. And it's done in a really creepy way that isn't really congruous with the rest of the episode, but isn't played all that creepy.
Yeah.
But why is he evolving like this? Like evolution, as they talk about, this could be the next a million years of evolution. Okay, fine. He's fast forwarding evolution. Can they give an explanation of why he's evolving into this and how?
Right. Like how is any of this a positive development for human evolution? But then again,
right.
According to Brandon Braga, that was his conceit for the episode, was that maybe evolution isn't good for everyone.
Evolution is neither good nor bad. It just is, which is one problem entirely. But the other thing is if you're gonna since evolution happens, as I understand it. A lot of it is in reaction to the world around which the organism exists, yes?
Yeah.
Why would Tom Paris evolve into a salamander on that ship?
A very dry, sterile-looking ship.
Yes. Frankly, really there's nothing for him to, considering the ship, there's nothing for him to really evolve into, unless it's like a Q or a higher frame of being. Yeah. That'd be more mental than it is the physical transformation he goes through. And apparently he gets super strength at one point because he's able to knock people out. He's kind of fast, and he grabs Janeway for whatever reason and I'm getting ahead of myself.
We need to hold up because there's all sorts of huge stupid mistakes that happen in this process.
Yeah, so he gets real negative about everybody, and he hates everything.
Everybody's
And
making fun of him. He's like being an emo snowflake.
he's a totally emo snowflake.
And the thing is, like, where before you could have some empathy with him, it's like he just goes off the deep end, but not in a very believable way or enjoyable.
No.
And it's kind of like, well, do you really want Tom to be an asshole? Is that what you're aiming for? I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's where we are now.
I mean, he sells it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the entire evolution of what he's evolving into doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And at least, you know, in a movie like The Fly, well, okay, his DNA has been combined with The Fly. His DNA is slowly changing. This one is, they keep talking about, like, the working assumption for the episode until they get to the point where they realize he's evolving is that some other kind of DNA has been introduced into his system. But that's not what's happened. It's his DNA that's mutating.
Yeah.
So all of their solutions to kill off his DNA would actually just kill him.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if we kill this outside DNA, you know, like, they don't realize till later, oh, no, that's just him evolving. Which means that all of your plans to fix him would have killed him. In fact, I'm still not sure how you stopped being salamanders, because it happens off screen.
It's literally in, I think, Chakotay's log. Which,
yeah.
And the thing that kills...
Well, yeah.
And the thing is, like, the Doctor's primary plan for fixing him is literally the Treknobabble equivalent of, we're going to hook him up to the tailpipe of the ship.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I mean, they're going to give him carbon monoxide poisoning to fix evolution.
Yeah. Or even worse, it's like, well, we're going to put him in the reactor of the nuclear reactor, and that'll kill off the DNA, and then we'll just scrape together what's left, and it'll be okay. We're gonna have Chernobyl him for a bit, and then it'll be fine.
We'll put it back together in a transporter. It'll be great.
And another problem with this is, as they're like trying to like increase the radiation or the tachyon, that's not tachyons, but whatever it is, they're like, we need to give him more, and no one's ever like, but it'll kill him. No, it says, yeah, I know more. Just give him some more, and some more. Then he breaks out, you know, and
which we've talked about this before, about how Tuvok is literally the worst person at his job. Like, of all the security officers,
he's a special needs Vulcan.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like, you have someone that the Doctor is like, yo, this dude's delusional and potentially violent. Like, They say that. They very specifically say that, and that's why they leave the force field up, and they show it when he tries to attack Janeway.
Yeah.
And so, they come up with this brilliant plan of putting him into this device, which they didn't have any security teams nearby.
No restraints.
Limited restraints.
As far as I could tell.
There was no security in the room. There's no security outside the room. Just the engineers. So Tuvok's basically sitting up on the bridge, like just slapping the controls, you know, like a frog or something. And Tom Paris breaks loose, and then we see the most inept phaser fight ever that somehow manages to like blow up a camera on a console.
It happens off screen. We only see it through the video monitor. People are concerned, but you know, there's a couple laser blasts, and it's like, what were they shooting at?
Yeah.
And who had the other phaser? And
I love the fact that the Doctor's like watching this, and like the whole thing unfolds, and he's like, "Well, that's not good."
Yeah, that's not good.
Action. It's not that like, oh man, we need to get a medical crew down there. It's gonna take a bit.
Yeah. And then he steals. Then when they're looking for him, you know, Tuvok is there. You know, he doesn't really have anything to. He's the security guy, and Janeway's like, he's my chief of security. Like, I'm sure he's good at it in general, because Vulcans are good at everything. But you know, what we know about Vulcans up to this point in the series is that they would not join Starfleet to become security officers.
Yeah. Anyway,
so Tuvok sucks.
And he basically blows the Tom Paris containment situation.
And he does, yeah. So so maybe he is special needs, because he can't even do what a standard like security kid has to be able to figure out, which is not leave the weird psycho guy who's already tried to attack the captain by himself in a tube.
Yeah.
When he's getting irradiated in engineering, and then watching it on TV.
And the thing that kills me is that, like, for some reason, Janeway's just kind of randomly wandering the ship during all of this.
I know they're not like, yeah.
And I like thinking about it later. I just kind of stopped and I'm like, I think she was on her way from sickbay. Like she just got lost in the ship because the last time we see her is like after Paris assaults the force field, and then he's getting irradiated from the tailpipe.
Yeah.
And she's still wandering the ship. Maybe she was going somewhere else.
Yeah, like she's kind of angry at this guy who's clearly about to die and having a mental breakdown for being like freaking out at her.
Yeah.
Like there's like they give Paris no love whatsoever. Like yeah, he's being kind of a dick because he's freaking out at her, but he's also look at him. I mean, is it like the way she treats him is like he's 100% rational. And, like, it's just, like, some weird cosmetic thing that's happening.
And on top of that, like, earlier she was going to take the flight away from him because there was a 2% chance of a brain aneurysm and put a Harry Kim in the pilot seat. Which, that whole scene, one, McNeil really sold it. And
well,
two,
it's character building for him, but yeah, it's a dumb scene.
But I did love the fact that basically, I'm imagining, McNeil basically was just the dude on set for, like, a week as they filmed that, just, like, hanging out in a robe the whole time. But basically Janeway has been giving Paris shit this whole episode, and then thanks to Tuvok's incompetence, she gets assaulted in a turbo lift.
then dragged into a shuttlecraft that goes warp 10.
Yeah.
And then gets turned into a salamander.
And the thing is, it's like,
because let's get to the salamander stuff.
Yeah. I have so many issues with this because they another series of things they just completely gloss over. But you would think that Tuvok would have, before they moved him from the sickbay to the engineering, would have gotten a report from the doctor in which the doctor said, "Yo, this dude wants off the ship." Like he said it multiple times to multiple people. He said it to Janeway. Like he's made no secret. He is going to try to escape. Tuvok's response...
He does not like what we're about to do to him.
Yeah. Tuvok's response is, everybody, go count the weapons in the armory. No. Everybody. There will be no security anywhere else on the ship. We need to count lasers.
Yeah.
And so, Paris smacks Janeway in the head, gets into a shuttle, which, again, they couldn't raise shields.
Why is the ship not locked down?
Yeah. I mean, they say that, he cut a power conduit, and then, they couldn't do things. I'm like, you're telling me on a ship with tertiary systems they couldn't, have somebody in the shuttle bay just push a button to lock it? Right. There's nobody with, the key fob to Voyager that's just boop, boop, to, lock the doors? Are you serious? You're telling me that's not a thing? Anyway, he gets to the shuttle, and he starts going to warp 10, and Chakotay's like, we're just going to give chase, because we can totally catch them. And then, eventually he's just the ship will fly apart. Forget it.
Yeah, well, the ship, at this rate, the ship will fall apart completely in 5 minutes. He's like, fine, slow down. And then they hit warp 10, and the thing is, so it took Paris at least 24 hours or so to at least get to the point where he's still half human, half salamander, or actually you don't even know what he's turning into still. And then they don't really tell how long they've been looking for.
3 days.
3 days, right?
The search goes for 3 days.
So in 3 days, even though it's all accelerated, in 3 days, Janeway and Paris both turn into salamanders, do it, and Janeway gives birth to little baby salamanders.
Yep.
In 3 days. 3 days. Now, okay, everything's accelerated fine, but what's even funnier is okay. They track the signature of the shuttlecraft, right?
Yeah.
They find it on the planet, and the first two things they find, they just decide that's the captain and Janeway and Paris, and so they shoot them with the face. And then, how do you know which one's the captain? And it's I don't know, because they're freaking salamanders now, and you can't reverse that. No.
And then Tuvok, with the special needs joke of the week, says, "Oh, she's probably the female." Thanks, asshole.
Really? Do you think? She's, though considering that as I understand it, aren't some lizards able to change their sex depending on
Yeah.
Or is that I thinking of something
It's
else?
frogs.
Anyway, and then the babies come out, so you know which one the female is. It's the one that was sitting on top of the babies.
Yeah. The thing that gets me about this all is, it took Paris days to transform. How did Janeway catch up to him?
That quickly, yeah.
How did she proceed down the same evolutionary course? And then...
the implication is that all humans will then become these things eventually.
Yeah, I guess so. And then
But shouldn't that... Yeah. If we want to play out the thread... though, shouldn't him going to Warp 10 again make him accelerate even faster so he's not the same as he was before?
Should he basically be like the fish with, like, gill hands? Like...
Yeah, no, essentially what Voyager is saying in that episode is that the salamander things are the end of human evolution. That's as far as we're getting. And for some reason, warm-bodied, harried mammals, humans, will someday evolve into salamanders, who are giant salamanders. They're big, it's not like they're small. Terrifyingly, or Komodo dragons, perhaps, if you wanted to go that way, who can survive, who no longer can breathe oxygen normally and need nitrogen atmosphere. Everything changes. And then in a procedure, in an evolutionary procedure that can be reversed off screen, over the course of like 5 minutes. And the way that they say they're going to do it, this goes back to it. They say they're going to assault. They're going to kill off this, like the bad DNA with the radiation from the ship's exhaust, right? But since this is their DNA that's simply evolved, if you kill the DNA, you're killing them.
Yeah.
They don't unless I would be okay with it if they said they were going to clone them based on like the 2 hairs they found in their quarters, and then import their memories. Like I would find that more believable than what they come up with, which is they simply reverse it and they're essentially the same as they were if they'd never done it. Yeah,
and the thing that gets
their bodies changed completely. It's not like they. It's not like, he kind of grew an extra arm or something. They turned into salamanders. They had tails. Their reproductive organs shifted and were changed. You don't come back from that.
Here's another thing to think about.
They don't even try to technobabble it away. It just happens.
Here's the other thing to think about. It's like, so they get to this planet, and who knows this is what bothered me. Paris literally says he could see other galaxies. And if they dropped out of this planet 3 days away from Voyager, why didn't that son of a bitch go to, like, the Andromeda Galaxy and drop out there?
Like that, yeah. The implication is he could have brought the ship anywhere in the galaxy at any time.
Right.
Like he could have landed back on Earth and launched into a swamp and then lived happily ever after. No, I mean, it doesn't make
probably exists in the future. They probably would have been excited to have a new specimen.
These are some large salamanders. Yeah. Put them in what are they? Amphibians, reptiles, whatever the hell they are. I'm not a scientist. I have a degree in political science, so I'm a political scientist, not a physical scientist. Thank you very much. No, so this is the dumbest thing ever. I mean, but the entire episode is dumb. But the ending is the most insulting because they reverse all this evolution without really, by saying they're going to radiate it, but that doesn't make any sense. You assume that they're obviously physically smaller, so their mass has changed.
Yeah.
It's like, while he was still kind of looking weird, like he had his hair popping out and his eyes were a bit off, you could maybe buy that they could reverse that. Now, once they fully transformed into salamanders, no. It's like, and then it's like, oh, you guys might feel weird for a couple days. And then the last line of the episode is Janeway implying that maybe she's the one who boned Paris and not vice versa. Yeah, I don't know what the hell. Yeah. And she's into it. And Paris is clearly disturbed. At least he has the dignity to be disturbed by everything that happened.
Yeah.
Because she's all like, oh, this was an interesting experience.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like she's kind of like talking about the exciting adventure of evolution, and Paris is like, no, I did some really bad shit. Like, I assaulted people. I kidnapped you. We had non-consensual sex. Maybe?
Maybe? Well, they imply that it was consensual.
Well, Or at the very least, Janeway raped him, because that's clearly an implication there. Because she's like, "No,
Well,
man,
he's more disturbed by it than she is.
And you know,
She makes a little joke, and you're like, "You were a salamander."
the other thing is,
Why?
I love that the phasers clearly had like a stunned salamander setting, because Chakotay like shows up, sees them, and is like, "Oh, there they are," and fires.
Yeah, honestly, he doesn't even blink.
Drops them like a sack of potatoes. Like, the best part about those models is they just like go arms out and flat, and they make this lovely little noise when they hit the dirt.
Well, and then the little babies are on that planet somewhere, evolving still, I guess.
And you know what? That's one of those things where you think about it, you're like, Chakotay's in the log says, "Yeah, I decided I'd just leave them in their habitat." It's like, dude, that's not their habitat. Like, you are messing with the ecology of that planet. Like, you have fucked up.
That's kind of par for the course for Voyager, though. So
yeah, we'll touch on that in a future episode where they literally wake up a frozen civilization and screw everything up.
Oh, Voyager. No, yeah, it's again, it's the laziness. But even here, and I talked about Spock's brain when we talked about Spock's brain, how it's a decent idea for an episode.
Yeah.
That Spock's brain was a better episode in the sense that at least it had a beginning, middle, and an end that were at least internally logically consistent. Whereas this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The man, they both evolve into different creatures, give birth. The episode ends as if nothing has happened. Nothing changes. At least in Spock's brain, they've maybe it's against the Prime Directive, but they've totally told that civilization how to act. At the end of this one, they're like, "Well, we left some salamander babies that are actually humans somewhere, but you guys are your exact same shape and mass as you were as when you started the episode, and we'll never and no one will ever talk about this again, and we'll never actually talk about Transwarp Drive again, really, even though the actual discovery is pretty amazing. The fact that Transwarp Drive can put you in any place and make you omnipotent and actually make you more human than human, as it were. We're just gonna forget about that.
Yeah, they're just gonna put that into mothballs.
Into mothballs. And leave it there. Not try to figure out what went wrong and maybe use that to get home. No, we're just going to forget about it.
And then, the thing that, like, in going through, like, the trivia and cast notes about this, like, at the time, Robert McNeil, like, actually owns the fact that, like, he loved the fact he got to act, but the script was really bad. And then the ending, he actually, like, sat down with the writers. It's like, dudes, this ending is bonkers. So what they came up with is actually an improvement over the original suggestion, which to me is a little horrifying.
Did it say what the original suggestion was?
I don't recall if they did, but
we'd have to dig up the DVDs and then watch them probably to figure out what the original ending was. And now that everything's on Netflix,
I'm not willing to pay for like the DVD of that episode or change my Netflix like account.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not changing my queue to figure out what exactly the original ending to Threshold was.
And the other thing is like when they like everybody involved in the central characters in this and Brandon Braga, like years afterwards, like apparently in 2003 after the show had finished airing, someone asked Braga about this episode and his response was, "Yeah, that was a terrible mistake. We made a mistake." And it's like,
well, at least they know.
Yeah. Like at
least they feel shame.
As they should.
They know when they feel shame.
I mean, Robert McNeil does a great job acting this episode. Robert Picardo does as well. Kate Mulgrew, who's a decent actress, for some reason...
He says...
I mean, she does better voice acting, I think.
I think she's great in Orange is the New Black. But she's not trying to be... I think the problem is the way Janeway is written.
Yeah. And just... you know what? That is a big problem I have with Voyager, is that for some reason, they really embrace the Roddenberry idea of, like, post-conflict humanity.
Right.
And everybody really embraces that on Voyager and becomes absolutely cardboard.
Yeah.
I mean, the Maquis Starfleet conflict, which really could have been something interesting, is almost immediately dropped. And the only time it's brought back up later is to be played for, like, funsies in a holodeck episode.
Yeah, no,
Was a Tuvok thing that Tuvok didn't bother to actually check the programming and turned it into a ship-wide chaotic event. Again, Tuvok the worst at his job.
It is, but the one thing that's consistent across the holodeck episodes, the holodecks, clearly technology that was created by some kind of trickster god to like Q invented it, or Loki came into the Marvel universe, or Norse mythology, because really that's where he comes from, and those gods are real, and he invented the technology to mess with the idiot humans who will allow, say, the avatar of Moriarty to take over the Enterprise, because Data likes to play Sherlock Holmes, or will allow Tuvok to, or someone, they're going to create a civilization in the holodeck, or something's going to happen in there that isn't right. There's this great somethingawful.com, the Red Shirt Diaries. It was about the holodeck cleaner, the guy on Enterprise who's in charge of cleaning the holodeck.
I remember reading that, the Wharf entry.
This is, I think this was Zach Parsons who wrote it, El Pinto Grande. He had a whole series. I think it was the Blue Stripe series, actually, where it was the different weird, basically the crap jobs of different sci-fi universes. They had the guy who had to like help the Daleks mate if they were in Doctor Who. I mentioned a doctor and they freaked out. Yeah. But the one about Voyager, or not Voyager, Star Trek Next Generation, was clearly that, all you can think of it is nothing good comes from the holodeck.
No.
I mean, the only good stuff that really came from the holodeck is Picard's adventures in Shakespeare Land, but mainly because I really like Henry V as a play, and maybe it was kind of fun to think of Picard reenacting the Battle of Agincourt. But again, also give some Shakespeare to Patrick Stewart, and I will show up and watch it. Actually, I'll show up and watch Patrick Stewart playing with a dog. Did you see that video on YouTube, or Facebook? They adopted a dog, and he hadn't had a dog in 50 years. And I'm like, Patrick Stewart, you're adopting a stray pit bull who needs love. You are the best man ever. I love Patrick Stewart. But yeah. So the holodeck was clearly a bad idea from the get-go. It never should have come in.
No.
Considering it's like turn off the safety regulations, computer. Like the fact that you could do that is bad enough. But we're getting on. I mean, Tuvok is the worst. Voyager is bad. We're getting away from the central conceit of this episode, though, which is that Voyager is sort of like where every bad idea that whoever was running Next Generation at the time shot down, decided they must have picked up these scripts from Farnamet. This is the second season. Later on in this season, an episode that actually, if I remember correctly, isn't as bad, though it's still dumb, Tuvix.
Yeah.
Where Tuvok and Neelix get crossed in a transporter accident, the fly style, and it's actually kind of funny, and it's supposed to be funny, and it's an episode that works well enough for what it is. But that's another one where you're talking about weird people who shouldn't be in this in the same stretch. They were clearly on the second season already running out of ideas.
Yeah.
This is why you get the Borg in the third season and 7 of 9, and
The things that really kind of bothered me is that even in Star Trek Next Generation, when they had their second season, you could really tell the characters were finding their footing and what they were going to become. Riker has grown the beard. He's really developing into his personality. We kind of get where everybody fits in the family. But at this point, this is the first major Tom Paris episode. And for a character that's so fundamental to the ship, literally the helmsman who's on the bridge every time something happens, this is the first time we experience anything like character-defining action with him. And it's just...
Yeah.
Voyager always seemed to kind of be in that Season 2 phase of Star Trek where they never really fully defined the characters. And the pieces never quite fit.
Yeah.
It always felt disjointed, and periodically people randomly just get the evil Spock goatee out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to accept it on Voyager because you never know how anybody is defined. The only people who get definition are one character who's introduced in Season 3 and 7 of 9, and the Doctor. The two most mechanical characters by definition are the ones who gain the most humanity. Everybody else is a cardboard cutout of a Star Trek archetype.
Yeah, who stays the same throughout. Like, Chakotay episode 2 is pretty much Chakotay all the way through the end of the series.
Yeah.
Janeway episode 1 is the same Janeway. Oh, no, she just gets more reckless, actually, as things go on. But,
literally, the final episode is Admiral Janeway basically having a neural meltdown and being like, you know what? I'm going to change history because, I kind of like my crew.
Not everybody made it back, and I think we can get back a few years earlier, so...
Yeah, let's try this again.
So I'm gonna cause genocide against the Borg, and maybe mess up the timeline, I don't know. Well, that Janeway, of course, is gone, and in its place is the regular Janeway, who will be given Admiralty to do anyway, because why not? You do that to people who lose their ships, or their crews, or get stuck in the Delta Quadrant.
I don't know. Like they did it to we're promoting you to Admiralty to put you behind a desk so that you never put a ship in harm's way again. However, she must command something. So, and clearly, she's in command of the Enterprise E because Picard takes orders from her in Nemesis, which at some point we should address because holy shit, is that one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's bad.
Not just bad Star Trek, but bad movies.
In Star Trek, the original series, you had three main characters. You had the captain, the first officer, and the doctor. Then you had the bridge crew. These are the people you're always going to see. Star Trek The Next Generation, they kind of expanded who the captain's council is, but it's still the bridge crew. You know, you go to the not the ready room, but you go to the briefing room. You'd have everybody in there, and you'd get a briefing. There is sort of a briefing room in Voyager, but whoever's in there at a given time is different and random.
Yeah.
They're exploring or whatever because they've lost half their crew. But there's Chakotay, who interacts with Janeway. They say they're friends and they're really tight, but they say it, right? Yeah. There's no triumvirate. There's no key group of advisors the captain seems to trust outside of the people who the show says that we should trust. We're told that Tuvok is this, but he's just like a lieutenant. Kim, why would you have Kim in your senior staff? He's it's his first assignment.
Literally the rookie.
He's literally the rookie. It's much more generic, whereas in The Next Generation, everybody who's in that ready room, once they finally ditch Wesley, is the senior officer for their division. You have the head of security, Worf. You've got your first officer. You've got your ship's counselor. You've got the chief engineer. You've got you've got Data, who's actually the ship's second officer, if I'm not mistaken. So you have your senior staff. The problem with Voyager is there is no senior staff. It's just whoever fit the archetype they were trying to fit for the show. So maybe that's the problem at the beginning is, you killed off the doctor and the first officer, but you don't make it that the first officer is equal in the captain's mind as Harry Kim.
Yeah.
And Tom Paris, again, he doesn't really have a rank. They make him a lieutenant when they bring him back, but he also doesn't have command experience. There is no senior staff. No group who should make the decisions. Whereas in Voyager, it's very clearly these people. Yes, in fact, the show eventually when they do Lower Decks, and they actually show them occasionally going. One of my happy moments in The Next Generation is when they actually show them going off duty and rotating shifts. They don't do it a lot, but they actually did it a couple times. That's what happens on a real ship.
Yeah.
Voyager never has that. Voyager tried to give equal strength to everybody too quickly, whereas Star Trek: The Next Generation figured out what worked, and then naturally enhanced the characters along the way. Worf is not central in the first few seasons. Let's get back to Worf. But Worf, he's there. They give him an episode in the first season, the Heart of Glory or whatever, where the Klingons are trying to rebel, and he does the scream. But he doesn't get a lot. He gets a little to do.
But eventually he's brought more into the fold as he, matures from being just kind of the defense guy to being the head of security and to being an actual character with a background. But it's built naturally into the course of the show, whereas in Voyager, everybody's just sort of there and they're in charge.
Yeah.
And there's no, and all of a sudden the captain's going to bring in the Maquis and give them equal footing to the rest of the crew. I'm going to make sure go to my first officer, and you're going to have to respect the hell out of him. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, if I was a Starfleet officer, I'd be like, okay, so this guy's some random rebel who's good with a ship. And you're going to make him your first officer, but I'm actually the one who you probably should because the chain of command says it should be me.
Yeah. There's some lieutenant busting around in engineering that's like, what? You totally skipped me over for this.
Yeah. I don't hurt the chief engineer because she
operating a console.
Yeah. It's like, why did I spend 8 years getting a degree in astrophysics? And if you're going to, Voyager is like, Gilligan's Island or, considering it just doesn't work. And, Deep Space Nine doesn't have that problem because you don't really need a chief engineer on Deep Space Nine. You've got a head of security, which is important, but you've also got, a doctor who's, you've got the chief who's sort of a, he's the enlisted guy, but he's sort of a jack of all trades on Deep Space Nine.
He's like their utility guy.
Yeah.
Literally, he is the utility guy.
But considering the fact that it's a space station, you need a utility guy. Whereas on a starship, you've got very, like you would have on a naval vessel, you've got very defined roles. And when you try to get people outside those roles, it begins to feel weird. And, the original series, you didn't have Sulu go down to engineering and try to figure out what was going on. You didn't, you'd send Data down to engineering because he knew everything. But even then, he wasn't quite, he was smart, but he couldn't make the kind of, leaps that, say, a Geordi could make. Because he didn't have that spark of consciousness. I don't know. What I'm saying, I guess, is that part of the reason why this episode doesn't work and why a lot of Voyager doesn't work is they don't define the roles of the characters in relation to each other well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating to me, this episode is just kind of like the epitome of bad Voyager, in that it's a really poorly they had a cool concept, and then everything after the concept just falls apart.
Yeah,
because they take what could be really interesting with the Warp 10 post flight and the great acting from Robert McNeil, who for some reason is just on this episode, and then in the second half, like Spock's brain, only they realize it sooner, they don't really have an ending.
Yeah.
And then just it goes way off the rails.
Yeah.
And this is an episode where I would never show this to a new Trek person.
I would never recommend any Trek person ever watch it.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the ones where, how every Netflix show you look at, there's 1 or 2 episodes, you're like, yeah, I don't want to watch that one. This is one of those episodes that I will never watch willingly.
Oh, no, yeah. You won't lose anything. You don't get any character insights. It's not even that good. It's not very entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like the nadir of Voyager, which was like the nadir of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I think that's, probably about where I want to leave this particular episode, because I'm kind of excited for our next one, which is Code of Honor, which is the one that Jonathan Frakes literally referred to as a complete piece of shit. No,
well, he was
piece
right.
of racist shit.
Racist shit, yes. It's quite something. It's, even I haven't watched it in a while, but everything is, just the entire thing is basically let's take Africa and put it in space and
deliver a white savior, because
deliver a white savior. Yeah.
And the thing is, this was right when the show starts. So
this is episode 3, isn't it? Or episode 4?
Yeah, it's something like that. So this is in the 80s. So
80s, yeah, it's 80s.
So apartheid
Still going on.
It's still there. Like, Africa's not the greatest place, so it's kind of like you're taking sensitive racial issues, and yeah, there were times where Gene Roddenberry would beat you with a hammer, but this is one where it's like it's like that Sideshow Bob episode where he keeps stepping on rakes. Like, that's what that episode is, where it's just like rake face. And, like, I was a kid, and I immediately knew I didn't like this one. Partly because the gloves with the nails on it freaked me the hell out. But
that's part of when you're a kid, yeah.
But at the same time, like, I watched it years later, I'm like, what were they thinking? Like, this is just a bad idea. Like, Gene Roddenberry was alive for this. He greenlit this, or at least participated in this.
And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that on the next episode of Bad Trek.